Good morning. Thank you all for joining us for the first Healthy Tennessee Summit. We're going to go ahead and get started because this guy talks forever.
Yeah.
So we want to keep you all on track. First, I need to do some housekeeping items. I'm Victoria Blanken. I'm with Highlands Physicians. We are an independent physicians association in East Tennessee. We have about 750 members. Some of our doctors are here today, and I'd like to recognize those throughout the day. Dr. Shrinker, if you would stand. Dr. Shrinker is one of our physicians. Our physicians in East Tennessee, and I know people say this about everywhere that they're at, our physicians in East Tennessee are phenomenal human beings. They're community-centric people. They're altruistic. They really work hard to ensure that patient quality and care and access is at the top of the list. And in East Tennessee, we've always had exemplary health care. But for whatever reason, and Dr. Shrinker has some ideas he'll share with you tomorrow, we have been unable to bend the curve on the health in Tennessee. And as you all know, Michael will talk about it later in his presentation, we're about 48th out of 50, so we're not doing well. But with challenges comes many opportunities, and we're going to talk about those opportunities today. So thank you all for joining us. There is a water station behind you, coffee and tea outside. We will serve lunch later in the day, and it's a Blue Zone inspired lunch. I want to thank our sponsors, and first of all, I want to thank the Blue Zones team. Joaquin, Margaret, we've worked really, really hard to get this conference off the ground. And at one point, if I can just be really honest with you all, we had a phone call where we discussed calling it off because we were running behind. We didn't have everything that we needed, and registration was really low. And we made the decision that no matter how many people showed up for this event, they would be the right people in the room to help Tennessee bend the curve on our health. So we thank each and every one of you for coming. So thank the Blue Zones for their co-sponsorship with Highlands Physicians to get this off the ground and the hard work that was put in with their team. I think we were here working until midnight last night, maybe a little bit later. My watch stopped working. My battery actually quit. We were at it so long. Creekside Behavioral Health, they have a booth outside. If you'll walk through, you'll see all of our sponsors. Creekside also helped sponsor the event. Highlands Physicians and Bridges Physicians, our 401c3s, helped sponsor the event. State of Franklin Healthcare Associates, which is Michael's team, they helped sponsor. And Tennessee Oncology, thank you all for your sponsorship. Also, I'd like to mention a really great group of people who showed up last night to help us, Sunshine Medical Center in Maryville. Without the help of, and they were just kind individuals who said, hey, we're here and we'd like to help, what can we do? So I don't think that we would have finished last night. We would probably still been working this morning if they hadn't showed up to help us. So thank you all, thank our sponsors, and we have a busy, busy day. I'll try to keep everybody on time, and especially you, Michael. So if you see me over there going like this, that means, yeah. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Michael Mabry, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what kind of fish tank we're swimming in and how we can clean it up.
That's the goal. Thanks, Vicki. Oh, you're fine. You should ask Vicki why we stayed up so late last night later. That is a funny story. If that's too loud, just let me know. But thank you guys for being here. It's just humbling to be up here with you. I'm not often in a room full of so many people of action and capacity who can make true change happen. So thank you for being here to start. Something I've learned over the years as a doc, a lot of people come to a doctor to fix me, right? I need something fixed. Well, I can't fix people, because they're not broken. What I can do, and what you guys can do, is we can journey with people. We can meet people right where they're at, journey with them, figure out their goals, figure out where you're trying to go in life. Then you can see some real health change. And the funny part about that is you don't have to be a doc to journey with people. So I hope, as you guys are seeing and hearing all these sessions this weekend, or Thursday and Friday, you guys remember that you and I both actually have the same job. We're just journeying with our neighbor. And I absolutely love our neighbors. You know, I love Tennessee. I grew up in Kingsport. I only moved away for medical school for a couple years. We got pregnant with twins right at the end of 4th year, right before they were born the first day of residency. So we came right back home to Tennessee so we could have some family help. But I feel like, you know, for you Lord of the Rings fans, we live in the Shire. You know, we have the most beautiful place to live here. It's peaceful, you know, aside from Helene, we don't have natural disasters. We have good people, right? And I do think our people is what make East Tennessee, or Tennessee as a whole, so just beautiful. You know, people flooding the state the last couple years. And what I've learned about people over the last couple years is they each have their own unique identity. You know, they each have their own unique gifts, talents, and when we lose some of them from chronic disease, whether we feel it or not, our whole community suffers. Because I can do things that Danny can't do, and Danny can do things that Vicky can't do, and my wife does a lot of things I can't do. And so when you lose people, our whole community suffers. And so the reality is we're losing a lot of people in our communities from chronic illness. And so just full transparency, that's kind of my heartbeat. That's part of my purpose for being here, is I want to help liberate people to do whatever it is God's called them to do in their life. And when they're sick, they can't. They're limited. And so if you'll look on your table, because my interest in this summit, I don't want it to be another transactional summit. I don't want y'all to learn one thing, take it home, and only you benefit. I want it to be a transformational summit where you guys are like, hey, it's really my privilege to go home to wherever, Minnesota, Texas, Johnson City, to journey with people to help my neighbors. So if you would, on your table, there's 2 pieces of paper separate. The second paper, the one you had in your hand, right on top of it, it has my why. And right below it, it says, what are my goals for myself? And then right below it, it says, my goals for my community. And so I would love for you guys to be really intentional during these talks and write down, like, why is it that I'm here? And if you don't know yet, you know, beyond Michael invited us, or Vicky invited us, be thinking about, like, what's my purpose, and what am I going to do for myself, and what am I going to do for my community? And we're actually going to dive into these together as tables tomorrow morning. And so that way we can drive some community. But the reality is our community is suffering pretty horribly. You know, back in the 60s, obesity was like 15%. Now it's 70% is either overweight or obese, right? That's a big problem. That leads to a lot of issues, higher risk of cancers, arthritis, autoimmune disease, disability, all these things. And it wasn't always that way. Autoimmune disease, everyone in this room knows someone with an autoimmune condition. You may have one or a couple yourself. About 50 to 80 million Americans now have autoimmune. It used to be like 2%. It was rare. It was rare to have a psoriatic arthritis. Now it's a daily event. Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive decline. This has absolutely exploded. And medicine has absolutely no answer for it. You know, 99.4% of medicines they put through trials completely fail to show any benefit, and a lot of them show harms. They actually hurt patients. We're expected to have about 150 million patients with Alzheimer's worldwide in 20 years. It takes $1 million to take care of a person per year with Alzheimer's, and 7 people. So it's not just 150 million who are now cognitively impaired, but times 7 to take care of them, times all that money. It's not sustainable, I mean, period. And then cancer is absolutely skyrocketing. You know, in the state of Tennessee, we'll have 50,000 new cancer diagnoses this year, about 20,000 deaths. Nationally, 2 million diagnoses, 600,000 deaths. You know, and what we normally do, because we're smart Americans, when there's problems, what do? We go to war. The war on cancer, the war on diabetes, the war on drugs. None of those have worked out very well. And we have spent billions and billions of dollars, and we're worse off, or at least not much better. Even in the cancer world, only a few cancers have we really thrived with as far as longevity and life expectancy. But Where there's great suffering, there's also the overcoming of it. Any of y'all know who said that? Helen Keller. Someone we could learn some things from. But during all of our war with all these chronic diseases, as Vicki said, we are number 3 in the country for the worst health. We always think we're number 1, but we're number 3. 48th out of 50. And that's when they combine, obesity, alcohol, drug use, suicide, about 10 different metrics. We're 48th, y'all. We're just behind Mississippi and West Virginia. And I think we can do better. But you'll notice back in the 80s, we didn't have this obesity epidemic. When you guys were growing up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we didn't struggle with all this. And now there's not a single state with less than 30%. What has happened? We've not become lazy. We've not become a culture who wants to be sick. I know nobody who wants to be sick, right? But we spend a lot of time blaming patients in the medical world. If you had just diet and exercise, I'm like, that saying means nothing, But you see, the degree of illness is that dark red. It's certainly very heavy in the Appalachians, and we've known this for a while. Cancer rates, as you can see, from 1975 till now, absolutely skyrocketing. And I rarely hear people in medicine asking why. It's always about what's the next gene therapy or mRNA technology or what's the next treatment. It's always treatment. I'm like, who's asking why? Like, who is asking why we went from 5 million to 26 million in a year? Like, who's asking those questions, right? We're going to talk about that some today. And you can see here, there's 800 million statin prescriptions every year, right? For a country of 350 million. And our heart disease rate is about where it is at 1950, right? We're not moving the needle because we're not looking at the right problems. We're looking at pharmaceutical-heavy solutions, and that's not going to be like our savior for this. And cancer's flying up, as we just discussed. Dementia, as we just talked about, is exploding. My great-grandmother had dementia, have many patients with cognitive decline. That is a very hard disease because it's not just the patient who suffers, it's everyone in their life. Because now mom doesn't know me anymore. That's painful, very, very painful. And then here's just some of the stats on how that's exploding around the world. There's hope here too, though. We'll talk about it. I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I know it's all gloom and doom so far, but it'll come back, don't worry. And despite all the sickness, our country will go bankrupt just for medical costs. It's not sustainable. And and politicians are always fighting, well, let's do a single payer, let's regulate insurance. I'm like, guys, the UK has a single payer, and they're about to go bankrupt. Like, you're looking at the wrong problems, right? But it's almost 20% of our GDP, and we pay all that money, and we have the worst health of all the industrialized nations. We're 33rd for life expectancy out of 38. We're like 15th for infant mortality. Like, America is not hitting it out of the park in any of these health metrics. And part of that's because we keep focusing on the wrong thing, and we'll talk about that. So my hope today, I'm going to do a little deep dive into why did we get here? Like, how did we get here as a society, health-wise? But when you're looking at all these numbers, it's very chaotic. It's like, is there any hope of getting better, or are we just going to drown as a society? And it's very easy to lose hope, to be honest, because even though the waters are raging and there's like bigger storms probably coming, it's all right. We take a deep breath. And what Margaret Wheatley calls, we can become islands of sanity. That's what we have to become. So in the chaos, we can have creative communities, small groups of people like us, who can bring some peace and clarity into that storm. I know we can do it. It's done all over the world, and I'm going to show you some examples here in just a minute. But I'm inviting you guys into this. Maybe next time we'll have our summit there. I'll talk to Vicki about budgets. So how did we get here? Well, our society is very stressed. My wife and I were talking about that this morning. Go, 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 go. We never stop. We crash. We get up in the morning at 5 a.m., do it all over again. And we feel like we're pretty health-conscious people. And we're busy. We're taxed, 3 beautiful girls, work, boards, all those sorts of things. We're a very stressed society, and stress wrecks our health quicker than anything else. We're heavy debt. And I blame our school systems for this to some degree because they don't teach you anything about money. I learned nothing about money growing up if it wasn't for my parents. and then good men who've invested in me. So we're taught how to be workers. We're not taught how to invest and give and save and all those things. So we're a very heavy debt society, and that's also very taxing emotionally. We're not moving nearly as much, and you don't have to be a couch potato like this young guy. Even if you're a young athlete, we sit way too much. As you guys know, sitting is the new smoking. So when you sit too long, your blood vessels no longer can shrink and contract, and you lose that vascular compliance. So more heart attacks, strokes, all those sorts of things. And then our food. God, I could talk forever on food. So we eat about 70 tons of food in our life. 70. That's a lot of food. The issue is a couple things: how much we eat, how often we eat, the chemicals that are in our food. If my great-grandmother Eva was still alive and I showed her half the food people eat now, like Cheeto or a Fruit Loop, she'd be like, what the heck is that? Because she's on a farm in Nashville, right? But some of the issues with our food is a lot of it's not real food. A lot of it's highly, highly, highly processed with chemicals we know cause cancer. We know they cause heart disease. Europe allows about 400 chemicals in their food system. Y'all know how many America allows? 4,000, right? And I saw the FDA banned red number 3 yesterday. Well, good, 3,999 more to go. It's like we're so slow to do stuff, God. And here's just a very simple example. And this is something like even my wife and I, we're very health conscious, and we talk this talk all the time. We miss stuff. We're eating foods with these chemicals. And here is just a very simple food that is now across the country in school systems. 65 ingredients. I thought the nastiest one in here, the BHT, it's on the bottom third, like the bottom line there, butylated hydroxytoluene. We use that to treat herpes. We use that to make plastic. We use that to clean metal. It's a nasty solvent. And we put it in our kids' Lunchable. Why do you need 65 ingredients to make a mini pizza? It's ridiculous. But then, going back to Europe and America, here are some Fruit Loops that my kids always ask for and they never get it. Because I don't want them to, we don't want to be like total food Nazis in our house. But we're like, baby, we want you to feel good. We want you to have energy. We want you to love life, right? There's 50 ingredients in our Fruit Loops. But the same company in Germany has 10. So Kellogg's will make it healthier for Germany. That's very nice of them. And what do they color it with? Instead of blue 1, yellow 5, red 40, they use beets and cherries and carrots and radishes. Why don't they do that for us? And the answer is we allow it. We allow them to do it. We allow them to poison us. If you ever watch how canola oil is made, you will never eat it again. But one problem, unbeknownst to a lot of people, in the 70s, there's this big push to get all the fat out. Fat's bad, fat's the devil. Add sugar. Sugar's better, right? And so we've switched to all these high omega-6 fatty acids. When your omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids go out of balance, right? Everything's about balance. When it gets out of balance, all of a sudden now our blood vessels are inflamed. And when your body's inflamed, it's under attack. So what do? You store your energy, which is fat. And so a lot of folks believe, these high omega-6 fatty acids are driving a lot of our obesity epidemic. And again, I promise, if you watch how it's made, you'll never touch it again. Now, this part's really crazy to me. Americans, on average, 200 years ago, would have 4 pounds of sugar a year. 4. Now we have 150. That says 130, but I just like the picture. It's actually 150. But then, when you tack on breads and carbs and pastas and all those things, it's another 150. So if you told me, Michael, what does a stressed out, non-moving group of people who eat 2 heaping wheelbarrows full of sugar look like? I would say it looks like the South. Cancer, heart disease, strokes, obesity. That's what you get. We can fix all this. Most of this, though, comes in the form of liquids. Sodas, diet sodas are no better. Even some fruit juices. That's where a lot of our sugars come from. And so we've got to start getting that sugar out of our bodies. I remember there was a Dunkin' Donut drink that had 187 grams of sugar. That's 17 donuts in one drink. Whew. The toxins don't get enough press, but babies are now born with at least 215 chemicals in their bloodstream. through the mom, through the placenta, and the baby starting off life with microplastics and BHT and heavy metals, right? How do we expect these little guys and girls to thrive if they start off life toxic? Their little bodies can't even detox that, right? And a lot of these chemicals last 10 to 20 years in the environment. They have a very long half-life. And so there's people talking about it, and there's a swell of movement trying to get these chemicals out, but it's a long process. There's a lot of money to be made in chemicals. So all those things I just mentioned, they all kind of spiral down to insulin resistance, which really drives most of our health problems as a country. And when I was in medical school, not 8 years ago, not that long ago, I was taught, and they still teach, all these outside problems, kidney stones, obesity, diabetes, insomnia, gout, stroke. These are all different problems. You have to treat them all different ways, and you have to use all these different algorithms. And that's just wrong. It's just wrong. They all have similar mechanisms underlying. And if you're not going after the underlying mechanism, you're never going to fix them. Never. So when they say diabetes is incurable, type 2 diabetes, I'm like, well, yeah, sure. If you only use metformin, you're absolutely right. But as you see here in a minute, I got plenty of patients who reverse their diabetes because you bring their body back into balance. It's not that hard. And then sadly, we are becoming a very lonely society. So you got 5,000 friends on Facebook and nobody knows you. Nobody knows you're suffering. Nobody knows you want to end your life. Nobody knows you're an alcoholic. Nobody, because we're all isolating. And where this has really exploded since 2011 is our youth. So this age group has the highest rates of depression. And do you guys have any idea what year that started, that trend? 2011, baby, the iPhone. You're exactly right, Danny. Because now all of a sudden they have all this connectivity, but they lose human touch. And so half the time when I'm with patients, they don't need medicine, they need community. They need to feel valued. They need to feel loved. They need to have purpose. So I spend a lot of time just helping people find their purpose. And then sometimes they walk out and they're like, I don't think I need that Lexapro anymore. I'm like, fantastic, right? So here's the problem. This sums up, I probably could have just put this picture up here as my whole presentation. Our country and our environment has just become a dirty fish tank, as others have said before me. So how do I expect those fish to be healthy when they're just swimming in a dirty fish tank? It's not their fault. I don't blame people for being overweight. Could they make better decisions? Sure, but food is incredibly addictive. And they don't even know what's in half of it, right? But again, the medical community, we primarily say, just drug the fish. They'll be fine. Michael, they'll be fine. Just follow that algorithm, and you're doing a good job. And I was like, yeah, but they keep getting sicker. They're not getting better. And this is why a lot of my friends are burning out in medicine. It's compassion fatigue. They're killing it, and no one's getting better. So how would you feel? If you're doing your job and you're killing it and you're waking up hard and getting after it, and all of it fails, right? So my hope is, in the state of Tennessee, and I hope that it trickles out everywhere, we have to clean our tank. And the Blue Zones, they're going to talk a lot about how do you set up an environment in a city where it's just easier to be healthy. It's a very simple question. I think it's very powerful. But if I could have a moment of vulnerability with you, what are some of the reasons you guys think we can't do that? Industry's a biggie. What else? What is it? Legislation? Yeah, sure. Big pharma? What else? Complacency is a big one. Yeah, what else? Payment system, money, finances. What else? I think we get the vibe people don't care. And if they don't care, why should I care? Totally. But you know what? We can't have any progress until we're able to tell the truth. And we are not a society that knows how to tell the truth well. Not because we're all liars. We don't even know what the truth is. We go through life having the wrong belief. And we're actually going to walk through that. Because if I asked you guys, how many worldviews are there in the world? What would you guys say? How many? Huh? Endless worldviews. So all the worldview is, it's the way in which you see the world that dictates how you make decisions. That's a worldview. You could say like, oh, there's a Muslim worldview, Christian worldview, American worldview, African worldview. But what if for a minute I said, maybe there's only two? that all humans have. Doesn't matter what nationality, religion, none of that. What if I said there's only two worldviews that dictate how you make decisions? Would you buy it? We're all humans. Doesn't matter where you're born. So, and I was taught this a couple years ago, and this was very, very impactful in how I've walked through life the last couple years. But what if I said there's a separation worldview and a connection worldview, and that's it? And in the separation worldview, 99.99% of us walk there all the time, and we don't even know it. And whenever I invite you into the connection worldview, many of you won't come, but you'll know it's better because it's risky. So here's the separation worldview, and see how this plays out in your life. It always starts with scarcity. There's never enough money, never enough legislation, never enough people to care. And then usually at the crux of it, I'm never enough. I'm never smart enough, good looking enough. I can never do that. Any of those thoughts sound familiar? That's exactly how we talk to ourselves every single day. And that's what holds us back from really greatness. So because there's never enough, and I'm never enough, therefore, I have to be dang certain I get what I need, right? Because if I'm not enough, I have to go get it. So if I have to be certain, then I have to work hard to be perfect. That sound familiar? Yeah. If I don't get into the right college and make the right GPA, get to the right med school, I'll never be a doctor, all those sorts of things, right? And so in order to be perfect, now I have to focus on myself. Self-help books, all those things. Because if I'm not focusing on myself, I'll never be perfect, and then I won't be certain that I have enough. That is the whole separation worldview. And it's how we live every day. And I've heard 3 people this morning already tell me this. They just didn't know they said it. Things they said. I'm like, okay, they're operating out of the scarcity model. So let me welcome you into a connection model. Connection starts with, and actually James will appreciate this because this comes from the world of economics. The connection worldview starts with there's an abundance. Jim, there is more than enough people who care. We have more than enough congressmen, whoever said the legislation. We have more than enough good legislators to make a difference. We have billions and billions of dollars in Tennessee we could allocate wisely, right? So once you start, and more importantly, you are more than enough. You are smart enough, you have all you need, you are more than enough. So if that's true, then instead of being certain, I can just enjoy the ride. I can just enjoy the mystery of every day. It's like, hey, Vicki, how's the stomach going to go? I don't know. Let's just try it. Let's just enjoy the ride, right? And that drove her freaking crazy. And I love Vicki for putting up with me. So because we can enjoy the mystery, now I get to make mistakes. I get to enjoy being fallible. You know, when my little girls were doing piano lessons, it so breaks my heart. They'll hit the wrong key, whatever. You know what they say? I'm bad. I'm a failure. They talk to themselves already. They're 4 years old. That's how they talk. That's how we talk to ourselves. I said, no, beautiful. Congratulations, you made a mistake. What'd you learn? So I'm always trying to pivot. When they get boo-boos, I'm like, good job, baby. That means you're having fun. And they hate having boo-boos now because I always celebrate the boo-boos. But now we get to make mistakes. So if I'm not afraid to make mistakes and I get to enjoy the ride and there's always enough, now guess what? I get to focus on others. That's where we got to get to. And the friend who taught me this was given this lecture at Harvard to a bunch of law students. And he asked them, he said, who likes the connection model better? They all raised their hand. He said, who's living in the separation worldview? They got to Harvard, so they had to be perfect, you know. And he said, who will come with me to the connection worldview? Nobody. He said, why? My parents will be disappointed that I'm not good enough. Bam, right back to scarcity. Isn't that amazing? You'll find this in every culture. It transcends all those boundaries we set up. So I'm just going to invite you for a minute into connection. Because people say, people won't change, they don't care. And so I'm going to introduce you to 3 people, regular people, who people would have said they won't change. And this is my friend Paula. I love Paula. I've known her for about 10 years. And she works with us at SOFA. And she, I swear, if you ever go into a battle, Paula loves so fiercely, like she's the one you want. But her whole life, just like a lot of Americans, struggled with weight and joint pain and tiredness, right? And so I teach health classes once a month for 6 months, where I walk about 10 people through this 6-month course on how to have health. And in the stress class, my favorite class to teach, if I've ever seen a light bulb go off above someone's head, ever, it was Paula. And we're talking about stress and all the stuff it does on the body. And Paula just goes, she was sitting here and I'm right here. She goes, well, I'm not stressed. I said, well, your body says you are. And she just sat back, her light bulb went off, and she dropped Dr. Pepper's that day. She started really cranking it in her lifestyles. And so now Paula's down 80 pounds. She is smoking it. And she's working out at 4:30 in the morning. She goes to bed at 8 p.m. at night. And the best part, her knees aren't bothering her. The best part is her whole family is getting better. Their relationships are better. Her husband just had a heart surgery he said he would never have. And now he quit smoking. Their kids are talking more. I go to the gym with one of her sons. It's beautiful. Paula set a goal of I'm going to walk a 5K. So she ran a 5K a few months ago. And then she's like, I'm going to go hiking. So then she hiked 10 miles with her husband. And then she's like, you know what I'm going to do next? I'm like, what? She goes, I'm going to go hike the Manitou in Colorado. I was like, what the heck's the Manitou? She's like, it's 2,700 steps in 1 mile. And me and a friend, right, community, we just bought our tickets for May. I'm like, hell yeah, Paula, get after it. That's what it looks like. That's wild. I would train for that. And so Paula's hitting that in a few months. Or my friend Roy. Roy and Tracy is my nurse, and her and my wife scheme against me all the time. And Roy is just a normal dude. He works in a local factory. He's a welder, loves his kids, coaches his grandkids' basketball team. A normal dude, right? Struggled with diabetes. He was on 3 or 4 medications, high blood pressure, obesity. He went through my health class, and he's like, Michael, I'm tired of feeling like crap. I said, good. What do you want to do? He starts cooking. He quit smoking, or he's almost quit smoking. I still smell it on him, so I know he still smokes. But he's quitting smoking. He's not drinking alcohol. And now Roy's down 75 pounds. He no longer has diabetes. His A1C is 6, which is borderline pre-diabetic, off all medications, off all blood pressure medications, and he feels great. Good, so now he can go be a coach, right? And then last but not least, one of my patients, we call him Joshua. He came to me when he was 11 because he struggled with ADD his whole life. He's on Abilify, a hardcore antipsychotic med. He's on clonidine, he's on Adderall, he's on Zoloft, and he was on something else. And he was a zombie. I would be a zombie on that. And his mom was like, my friend said you could help. I was like, well, I'll try, But I asked him the good question, what are you willing to do to be healthy? And he said, whatever. I said, okay. So we do a few supplements, we change his diet, we kick all the crap out, he starts walking. And his mom's a single mom working 2 jobs. These are not rich people who have all this capacity, right? And so, slowly, remove a medication. He's eating healthier, feeling better, remove another medication. So now he's leading his ROTC group at 14 on 1 medicine at nighttime, clonidine, and he's thriving. And he and his mom get along better than ever. That's a healthy kid, right? ADD is not a disease. ADD is a symptom. Why is it there? You got to ask the question. So now he's happy. I see him once a year now because he doesn't need me anymore. That's exactly what I want. Come in for your physical, let's hang out, I'll make you some green tea, and let's just enjoy life, So that's how we do it that's what patients can do, right? How do we do that on scale, right? Well, so the Cleveland Clinic had a lovely program where they said, hey, these 6 things, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, a stress reduction class, and non-smoking, this underlies most of our health. So they told to their 100,000 person staff, if you guys want to join this group and go through this health program, and you reach these metrics, you can save money on your insurance, and it really kind of helps all of Cleveland Clinic. So in America, just so y'all know, only 3% of us meet those 6 metrics. 3. We are a very metabolically unhealthy country, as we just discussed. So anyways, they roll out this program, and I love Mike Roy's, and when he was telling me this, when he rolled this out, and Toby Cosgrove was the CEO, he said, Toby, I'll do this, but you have to protect me. And Toby said, what do you mean? He's like, they will try to fire me if I do this. And they did. Every year they tried to fire him because it's change, and change costs money, right? So the first year they did it, it took a little bit of time, but over 10 years, they went from 6% of their staff meeting those metrics to 42%. So out of 100,000 people, the math's easy, they had 36,000 people of their people get healthier. How lovely is that, right? Now, their staff's saving money, smoking goes down, weight goes down. 70% of their staff participated. So whenever we say, people don't care, they do care, right? But we have to help them. Hospital goes down, all these things. And now, Cleveland Clinic had saved, up until 2017, they had saved almost $655 million. But those first 2 years, 08, 09, it cost them money, right? You got to implement it. That's when they were trying to fire Mike. 3 or 4 years into it, now they're all loving him. But you had to be willing to take that risk. So yes, Cleveland Clinic has money. They can do all those things, right? In just a second, I'm going to show you groups who don't have money, and they're being very successful. But part of how the Cleveland Clinic did that is they got rid of this antiquated model that we still practice today on the left. Isolation, scarcity, everybody's stressed, everybody's rushed. And they put these people in groups. I love group medicine. It's so fun because it removes all that, and now you all get to learn from one another. And here's what my groups look like. 10 people around a table, reversing diabetes, coming off medications, no longer feeling depressed. And I hire a health coach, Phyllis, who walks with them every month, calls them, texts them, checks on them. And there's no additional cost to the patients. I bill it. You bill it to insurance. No doctors do this. I have tried to teach so many doctors to do this, and it's a learning curve. But what if Tennessee said, hey, we'll pay your doctors a little bit extra if you do group visits? What if we incentivize these kinds of ideas, right? So again, Cleveland Clinic has money. The Nuka Health Company did not. This is an indigenous tribe in Anchorage, Alaska, 70,000 Native Alaskan tribe members who went in as a nonprofit initially, and they wanted to help the health of their people. And they obviously suffer from a lot of issues that their people have been through for centuries, and alcohol and depression and abuse, right? A lot of generational trauma. And so, you know what's fascinating about what they did? They simply said, if I was one of their doctors, part of what they did was, they said, Michael, I want you to have a nurse, a social worker, a caseworker, and someone else. Have a team, and you can only have 500 patients. And your only job is to treat them and be their friend. That's your job. Go get them. So now they're driving community. Hospital rates go down. Costs go down. They don't call them patients ever. That's a no-no word. They call them customer owners. You change the whole dynamic. A patient separates, right? Scarcity worldview. Doctor, patient. One's above, one's below. It's not good. Customer owner, much, much better. I like that a lot. And now they've won so many awards, I didn't even put them up on the screen. It would go over that. In the UK, though, here's a group. There wasn't even any doctors involved with Frome. It's a little city in the UK. And they hired 100 community connectors. And their only job was to go into the community, and when they see people struggling, connect them with community resources. So you see a woman at the grocery store who can't pay her bills. Hey, we have a lovely meetup group that talks about budgeting. Why don't you come hang out with us? Or someone has depression. Hey, come to this group. Come to the book club. Come to the mountain biking group, whatever, right? And what they found was ER visits go down, the town saves money. And my favorite part of that whole article, they said, we are absolutely astounded to find that as a result of doing the right thing for the patient, our ER staff, our ER admissions go down. We're just doing the right thing, y'all. This is not rocket surgery. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. Churches. How do you have a healthy state without healthy churches? Right? So in Southern California, this is like 10 or 15 years ago, they just used the group visit model. They had small groups at the church. They walked through the Daniel plan together. It's a whole plant-based diet, nutritional plan, exercise, all these things. And I've been in touch with them. They're lovely. That church had 15,000 people participate. Again, they're willing. They lost 250,000 pounds. And guess what? They drive community. So now you've seen it in churches. You've seen it in indigenous populations. You've seen it in high-level Cleveland Clinic. So another thing we have to do is just utilize our resources that are already there. Abraham, one of our friends from the mountain biking group, is here with us. We have pickleball clubs. We have book reading clubs. We have walking clubs. Let's just use what we have, but just make sure people are aware of them. We don't have to drop a lot of money to help our state. We have to build up our farms. Imagine, what if our school systems all partnered with farms? Let's use our tax dollars to pay local farmers to make healthy food for our kids. It's a full cycle. Instead of Lunchables, God. Can we get Lunchables out of our school system, and let's pay our local farmers? You're going to hear a lot more about farms later today from Joel. You'll love him. What if we teach nutrition in school? I know when some of you guys grew up, you had home ec. We don't have home ec. We don't cook in school anymore. We don't learn how to sew and do all that stuff, all the things that matter in life, you know. What if we start teaching nutrition in school? I saw a video from China the other day. The 4-year-olds are cooking for the whole school. You have one 4-year-old scooping all the noodles, and another one was stir-frying all the vegetables, and the other kids are doing sit-ups over here. I'm like, they are so far ahead of us. Oh, my God. So what if our school systems start doing some of these things, right? Medical schools, whew. Y'all know, still today, and I went to a lovely DO school, which is more holistic. I didn't learn jack about nutrition. 0 classes on stress, exercise, nutrition, sleep, community. Near 0. And I love my med school. That's the medical school model. They teach to the boards. So what if we have groups like the American College of Lifestyle Medicine or the Institute of Functional Medicine or A4M or all these groups focused on health and root cause medicine? What if they got into med schools and started making some curriculum changes? God forbid doctors learn nutrition. And I seriously have doctor friends of mine say, I don't need to know nutrition, Mike. That's what a dietitian's for. I'm like, God, the uphill battle is real. So anyways, and then one of my pipe dreams, you guys can help me with at some point. Since 2013, I had this vision of let's start having some wellness centers, is what I used to call it, where people can come and learn how to be well, eat, cook, sleep, massage, natural therapies. And they have these around the world, but most of them are $5 to $10 grand. This one's actually in Pigeon Forge, and it's probably $10 grand a week. What if we make one, though, where the leaf blower outside can come? The janitors can come. What if we make it accessible? It doesn't have to be free, but what if we make it accessible to people in our society? That's a good investment. And so all that to say is, honestly, I have no idea what time it is. Oh, I'm perfect. Nice. All that to say, we have all the right people already here. We have all the right ideas already here. We have all the money we already need. You are more than enough. We are more than capable. All those things are true. We just have to plug in together. And I think that's what mine and Vicky's heartbeat is there's already good things going on in the community. We're not starting from 0. How do we just elevate this? And then politically, this is all being talked about more. I'm like, thank God people are talking about health in the government, you know? So I think now's the time. The timing of this summit is really lovely. And I think that we can change Tennessee if we pull together. And we can become an island of sanity. So maybe one day, Danny, we will see Tennessee be on the map, baby, for a blue zone. So, thank you, guys.